Well, hello and welcome to the Health Revolution. I'm Clive Carle, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome from Colorado today Jay Gutierrez. And Jay is going to tell us some remarkable stories. Jay, thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like you to tell us, first of all, what happened one time when you discovered a green stone.
Oh boy, that's a ways back. That's getting close to 30 years ago. I was on a Army helicopter mission in northern Wyoming, and we landed on the ground, and I found some green and blue stone, and I was a helicopter mechanic. I have 20 years military, Air Force and Army. And I found some green and blue stone on the ground, and I was drawn to it, I figured I would just make some jewelry. Well, what happened was people started getting better from all kinds of things, and I'm one of these people. I have to know what's happening, why you're getting better. I'm not really into the. Back then, I wasn't into the metaphysical or holistics, you might say, but so what I did is I took this stone because I had so many calls coming in with arthritis getting better, tumors getting smaller. So I took the stone to laboratories, and I had it. What they call a spectral analysis on it, where they break it down into elements. So then I took the elements and I studied the history and its uses on each one, and then I got to thorium. Well, thorium's a radioactive element, and I didn't think much about it because there's thorium in the ground everywhere we're at. But I took this stone over to Rocky Flats Arsenal here in Colorado and had one of the radiation guys go ahead and test it. Well, he told me that he says, Jay, it's slightly radioactive. That's all I heard. Then the way we've been conditioned, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm killing people. I was going to call people back and buy their necklaces back and, I'll make money on it. I couldn't sleep. Well, it just seems so on my journey. The way I've been guided, I found out no one actually I was doing the right thing. We actually here in the United States had a long history of using natural radioactive material with great success with health issues in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. In fact, I have rooms full of antiques. Then we had Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and everybody became radiophobic. We've been conditioned. And for a good reason for that too. But when I found out I was doing the right thing, I started working with even working with helicopters. I was still going into doctors' offices with boxes of rocks. And I started working with their patients. I got thrown out of a lot of offices. But we started working with their patients, and we were seeing results. In fact, they even wrote a book on this. It's about me and this journey. It's called Because People Are Dying. And what it is I realized what we were working with, they called radiation hormesis, okay? Hormesis is a Greek word which means to excite. And basically what they're saying is a little bit of radiation is good for you. In other words, their theory behind radiation hormesis is that when radiation goes through your body, it slightly damages or stresses your cells and DNA, and when that happens, it triggers a response from the immune system. Okay, well, I bought that for years. That was the only thing we had to back us up to explain why all these people we've worked with over the years could could see again, walk again, were in wheelchairs with MS, cancer-free. The only thing we had to, like I say, to back that up was the theory of radiation hormesis, which is upheld. It's been around for many decades by most of the nuclear physicists. That's their way of thinking. Well, after years of this and working with people, and we've been very successful, we have our own medical doctors. I'm a medicine man. My people are medicine men and women, so we're covered legally here in the States. But what we were able to find out was that it never was the radiation. See, we mine stones. We go in the United States and Utah and Wyoming, and we mine stones now, from low-grade uranium ore to chrysocolla, which is a copper stone, more or less held together with silica. And we work with these two stones to get these frequencies out, because what I was able to do is I was able to validate that it never was radiation that was helping our people. And actually, this is how it came about. We have a lot of farmers and ranchers around here. And what we would do is they would get algae on their cattle tanks. And the bad algae is the algae that would cover up the sun and produces acid. So the pHs in the tanks were very acidic. The cattle drinking like battery acid. So what we do is we put sacks of these stones inside the tanks. And what would happen is the cattle would get healthy, they'd gain more weight, they'd drink a lot more water, have no problems with calving or scouring or anything. But we also noticed that the pH in their water was at a 7.4. No matter what tank we went to, it was always 7.4, the pH. It changed the pH. There's only two ways that you can change the pH of water if you get down to it. That's chemicals or with frequencies, which chemicals are bad frequencies. But we were able to validate and spend a lot of time with it that it was frequencies we were working with, the correct frequencies. Over the years, after we realized it was frequencies out of these stones that we mine, and we measured, and you can go to our website and see, and we work with people across all over the world, by the way. But with these, we've understood these frequencies have never done the wrong thing. Like I said, with EMFs, pesticides, other bad frequencies, the only way you can protect yourself from bad frequencies is to overpower it with good frequencies, and that's what we're working with here. So now that we understood it was frequencies and how it responds, I'll give you an example. Our first, when we first were able to understand it was frequencies, and you know, waters are carriers of frequencies. That's how you restructure water. You take a frequency, you imprint it on a water molecule, it spreads to other water molecules, and then you've restructured the water with that frequency. Well, what we did here is we had a lady, one of our last people that we had here, where I live, we used to bring in people from around the world to stay here. Now we work with our people on the phone, because that's how we reach more people. Our last cancer patient we had here, she had 4-stage big open breast cancer, 4-stage lung cancer, and brain cancer, 48 years old. We were her last hope, so they sent her here. And what we did, because we understood it was frequencies, and because the waters, any carrying that frequency would change the pH, see, to a perfect 7.4 every time. What we would do with her with the open cancer is we have a tubs with water here with the ores in it and magnesium chloride. We're big supporters of magnesium chloride. And we would totally submerge her cancer, open cancer, into the waters. Why? Because then you're directly introducing those frequencies into some place where anything is producing acid or decay, algae or cancer, it don't matter, it can't exist. Okay? She's back, she stayed here 9 weeks, she's back in Denver, she's cancer free. All right? The worst. But understanding it was frequencies. So, but now we have people, we work with a lot of agriculture now, and we've just scratched the surface. We're just a small group. But what we've been doing for our people, they will always come first. People's health always come first, no matter what. That's our promise to God. What we've put together now over the years. See, for years we were getting people better from all kinds of degenerative diseases. We were getting them help just using the stones. But on our journey, my wife and I have traveled across this country here many times and worked with many healers, many doctors, many scientists. And over this time, the way we've been guided, for the last 5 years, we've been running a protocol. And this protocol, we call it the Three Divine, because God put it together. And what it is it's frequencies, number one. Number one is frequencies. Frequencies is where people would call us up. Let's say you have leukemia. Okay, you call me up. I put you on the Three Divine protocol. Now, I've already thinking after talking to you in my head, I already know what the problem is. Every time we get leukemia, it's roundworm that's in the liver. Okay, every time. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on the Three Divine protocol. Number one is frequencies. That's where we're going to send you out stones that we cut, measure, make here. I'll be sending you out a kit, which will have tools in it. Now, the half-life on this material is 250,000 years. It ain't going to run out. It's like a first aid kit that doesn't expire, okay? So what happened is we'll go ahead and have you start putting these items on different parts of your body that we're going to target. And we're looking for responses. And we'll get those responses. Because those responses are going to be telling us more or less what's wrong with your body. It's going to start mapping it out. In other words, most of the people that call us, if they come back from the hospital or the doctor, they're so confused by then they've just learned how to pronounce what kind of disease they have, and they're totally lost. Which, by the way, I think is the root of all evil is confusion. Right there at the beginning, they're confused. So, what happens is, you've come to me. I'm going to put you on the stones. I'm going to get responses. What are we doing? Right away, what we're doing is we're knocking back the yeast in the body. Let me explain this. This is important, okay? And I tell doctors and healers this all over the world. Everybody has yeast in their body. That's for when you pass away. That's what decays your organs, all right? Anybody that calls us up or comes us with a degenerative disease, okay, has an overgrowth of candida, or you can call it yeast. It's a fungus, i.e. cancer, in the body. So all the doctors are cutting it out. All your natural healers are trying to get your candida levels back in. But guess what? It's doing its job. It's eating dead tissue, okay? So I tell all the healers and doctors around the world, you will never get this cancer, candida disease under control, fully under control, unless you stop what's damaging the tissue, okay? Well, what happens is number one, like I said, is frequencies. We start working with the stones to get the candida back in check, start doing repair, along with many things the frequencies do. I mean, like I say, they don't go off of black and white and just do one thing. They encompass right and wrong, and they just do the right. I can validate this. I spend my life doing it. So the next part, though, of the Three Divine protocol that we work with is we have some people that we were able to meet years ago back in Alabama. They have a company called Water Divine. They make an angstrom size in liquid form, an angstrom size mineral. Angstrom is 10,000 times smaller than micron. The cell can only accept something up to 4 angstrom in size, okay? So a lot of stuff we're taking isn't even being brought into the cell. On the second part of the Three Divine protocol is minerals. By the time you've called me up, your immune system's already compromised. So if I go after what's causing a problem, I can overwhelm you. Heck, I could kill you. Don't want that to happen. So what we do with our people, and for most cases, some are different. You have to nurture them along more, or some are quicker. But most of the time, what we'll do with our people in Water Divine, in the second part of the Three Divine, which is minerals, is I'm going to build you up for 10 days with magnesium, calcium, potassium, zinc, trace minerals, and liquid vitamins, all in one kit with them for 10 days. I'm going to build you up. While we're using the stones, we're mapping these things out. You're feeling better. At the end of 10 days, and remember what happens when you get the stones, we usually have people call here. I'm a wellness instructor and I have other wellness instructors. We don't charge for that. So at the end of 10 days, we see how you're doing. Then we're going to switch over to a cleanse using angstrom-sized minerals from Water Divine. What I want to do is use silver and copper, and we're going to go ahead and clean your bile ducts and your lymph system. All right? You'll actually get stones out of your stool. What it is I want a way for us to be able to eliminate what we're going after. So what happens is that we'll spend a couple days doing a cleanse with silver and copper and the support of Water Divine. They've helped us save many lives. I've got some great stories. They've helped us fix a lot of hearts. And so we'll do a cleanse for 2 days. Then by that time, we come into the third part of the 3 divine protocol. Number 1 was frequencies. Number 2 was minerals. And the third one is parasite identification and elimination. Now, when it comes to parasite testing, okay, I've lost people in the past years ago from the wrong call. I don't go with, if you're putting your life in our hands to help you save your life, right, or fix a problem, I'm not going to go with muscle testing or kinesiology. I won't go with a biofeedback machine. When it comes to parasite testing, what's damaging that tissue, I want my medical doctor looking at your stool sample underneath his dark field microscope and telling you and I exactly what eggs he's seeing, and then I want a natural remedy that's targeted for that parasite or parasites. My medical doctor and medical director, Dr. D'Angelo, one of the best doctors I know, he left mainstream and now all he mostly works on is testing our people. Over the years, I've had, we always hear about heavy metals. The worst cancers that I've worked with are the ones in the mouth from mercury. Those are the toughest cancers there are. But over the years, I've only had a handful of those. I'd say 98, 99% of ours have been parasitic, okay? In other words, when we get those reports back, and this is fantastic. Look, I've spent days with you, 14, 15 days, building you up. You're getting responses. You're feeling better. We've built you up, cleaned your bile ducts. Then we get the report in from Doc. That's one of my favorite moments. Remember, you called me up with leukemia. I know what I'm going to see. We get that report from Doc. It's going to say Ascaris on it. Most every time it does. I'll give you a quick story on this one. Ascaris. Now, Doc, he's big on protozoans, but I'm always after the tiger that's making a lot of damage. When we get that report and you've got Ascaris, you already know what's damaging it and what's causing it, because most of our people, 100% of our people with prostate, lung, ovarian, liver, leukemia, lung and brain have all been Ascaris. All right? So what will happen is Doc, he's going to go ahead and he's going to put you on a 3 cycling of the moon remedy for that parasite. Okay? Now remember, you know what's happening now. You know why you have the cancer, what's causing it, how we're going to fix it. So right then and there, you're in control. And when you're in control, that fear goes away. I see it all the time. Okay? So Doc's going to work with this person over 3 cyclings of the moon with a natural remedy. It could be a silver protein. It could be certain essential oils and capsules. It depends on the parasite. So like I say, I'll do it on 3 cyclings of the moon. That's so we get the eggs. And during the cycling of the moon is when parasitic activity is at the highest. That's just common sense, and that's what we're doing here, and that's why we're winning this war, because it's using common sense and not confusion. So, but it's quite an undertaking, but like I say, we're still here, we're legal, we've been winning, And we have answers. It's just whoever's looking for them.
Well, that's amazing. And so you've got a number of volunteers who work for you free, helping you give the advice.
Oh yeah, what happens? You know what? Even some, I've had people in the past to where they've had, let's say, breast cancer or something, and we fix them. And then the way God sends them, they want to help others. You know what? I've done this many, many times. I've said, I've actually had guys call me up like with pancreatic cancer and just a few weeks supposedly to live. And you know one of the first things I tell them? I always tell them, I'm sorry, this isn't all about you. And then you get that silence in there, like, what did this man just say? No, it's not all about you. It's about you getting better and you teaching other people how you did it. Then they get excited. They have purpose, right? I see this all the time. A lot of these people that do get better do carry on with that. What'll happen is after I've worked with them, then they run into a family member or friend who's got some kind of degenerative disease and they need help. They get them on, they three-way them on with us. We'll tell them how to work it, what to watch for. Responses are important. Staying in communication with the people we put together through this program is important. And the help is always there. But after the time that we've ended up helping 4 or 5 people on the phone and got them through this mess, that person there is already helping other people when they only call us when they need help. And it's been a heck of a journey, but we have a big following, a lot of good people out there, a lot of people getting helped, and it's all a lot of it's about education. It's just like radiation. Everybody, we mine naturally radioactive stone, naturally radioactive. What did I tell you there? We're working with a frequency that works off of right and wrong. It doesn't work off of black and white. Okay, but we're using natural radiation out of the ground. So what I just told you is we're using a true frequency. It's the truth. Now, when you're using man-altered radiation, what did they do? They took that, let's say uranium ore, and they spun it. They enriched it. What did they do? They altered it. They altered it, the truth. Okay? So now this energy doesn't know right from wrong. It's just to destroy. In that case of man-made radiation, let's say from Fukushima, all right? In that case, if they get any benefits from it, that will work off the scientist's theory of radiation hormesis, but it will not work off of using natural radiation, okay? But, yeah, we spent a lot of time validating all this.
And you mentioned Fukushima briefly. I was wondering whether you can give some confidence and hope to people who are worried about it regarding what solutions there may be.
Well, personally myself, I don't think it's going to have that huge effect, and that's just me personally because I've worked around it so much. But, and I'm telling people, we get calls from all over about this problem. Jay, what can we do to help, protect us? It's just like I told you in the beginning. The only way you can protect yourself from a bad frequency is to use a good frequency. So most of these people get on these kits that we make and put out there, and that will protect them. Because you're taking, it gets really intricate. Just even like toxins. These frequencies are incredible. Toxins, this is important. Any toxins, molecular structure toxins are of a crystalline formation. We've seen these frequencies just come in there and shatter them, and they eliminate. All right, toxic structures just like fluoride or chloride or any of these. All right, you're shattering them. Yeah, we're seeing nothing but good here, and we have a lot more good things coming. But like I said, mostly working with the farmers. The farmers, what we found out, what we can do with them with the same frequencies on these big irrigation systems has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. And we're working hard on that every day. But like I say, the main thing, we usually run the 3 Divine Protocol. And gosh, we've been helping people get better for years, but all using common sense and validating.
And you were mentioning angstrom-sized minerals. Clearly, this is the important way to get minerals into people, and I'm sure many people know that that size of mineral is available, for instance, from eating plants.
Yes, yeah, oh, absolutely. The plant, look, the plant's filtering system is the roots, okay? And what he's doing is he's bringing in those minerals there, and by the time they get in the plant, they've filtered it to angstrom size. Now, here's the problem we're running into a lot. A lot of times when we do the parasite testing, we're finding a lot of protozoans. They're lining the stomachs of people. So let's say, and seriously, take a look at, let's say, B12 deficiencies. Look it up, what they are, all the way down to like Parkinson's. Or finding out, so you're taking more B12. It's not going anywhere. It's not being absorbed in the system. So what we do is we have to get rid of these protozoans so the body will absorb them, because they live off of, let's say, B12. They live off of that. You're taking loads of it, and it's just feeding them. You're not getting anything no better. You don't know what's going on. Actually, on those cases right there, and until we can get the protozoans cleared up, and but we're having symptoms of vitamin deficiencies, the best way you can handle that until you can take care of the problem itself is we'll have people take, let's say B12. Take B12. Normally, I forget how many macrograms, 7 to 9 macrograms a day of B12, I think it is. But if you're deficient in it, right, the best way would be to take 10,000 macrograms daily under your tongue so you can get it sublingually, so you're bypassing that until we get this fixed. So we see that a lot. Dr. D'Angelo, he seems to think that the protozoans cause most of the problem, but then again, me, I'm on the other side. I'm always looking for the roundworms and the hookworms and the tapeworms, but we see all these symptoms and they all seem to line up. You know, someone will start talking to me, ask them a few questions. Pretty soon, I'm like, seen this before. Okay, let's start with this. I mean, after a while, you see it a lot, trends. You know, and that's what we're understanding here.
And what percentage would you say of average people have a problem with parasites or protozoans?
Well, here's the problem here with that. A lot of people with our diets and everything, you see where they're walking that fine wire, where they're going to compromise if they have a trauma or anything to where they fall off the edge with their immune system. Getting it back over is tough. If you've already walked on the edge and your diet was bad and you've got protozoans and parasites, that's usually the number one cause of most all of these problems. Like I said, I've only had a handful of heavy metals. Very few other cases that weren't parasitic, but the majority have all been parasitic.
So would you suggest that really almost everybody should, for instance, have some essential oils in capsules, or safe essential oils, or use the sort of combination of herbs like wormwood and black walnut hull and clove and so on a cyclical basis?
Sure, and that can possibly work, okay? And a lot of our people do that, unless if you're not getting rid of the problem. See, if you use that and get rid of the problem, okay, but if you didn't get rid of the problem, you're using it, and you start getting dug in too deep, let's get you tested. In fact, like I think I've told you earlier, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to find desperately doctors, not just in the UK, but around the world, that can do dark field microscopy, also parasitology, and that's very difficult to find.
Yes, the only one that I know of works in the office of in London of a Dr. Charmaine Dyer, I think, who works out of Harley Street, and she's well known for being ahead of the field in the medical world there. But I'm sure there are many others. Dark field, grey field, you'd say that they're both as effective as each other.
Oh yeah, like I say, when your life is on the line, I want my doctor underneath there and tell us exactly what eggs he's seeing, because like I say, for most people, they'll take those reports, walk into their doctor's office and say, there's what was causing it. Here's how we're going to fix it. I feel better now.
I would suggest in the UK that there are almost no doctors at all that would even consider parasites, let alone know what to do if they found one, other than give them drugs.
Oh, you should hear the stories I get. Incredible stories. We had one lady here who had leukemia, okay? Older lady. She had leukemia, and we got her leukemia free. Well, a year after that, she went to the doctor just to have her heart checked. And the doctor says, well, your heart's good. I still want to get an x-ray on it. Why? I don't know. And she goes, well, yeah, I'm doing better now, though, since I got rid of that critter inside of me. And he goes, what? She goes, yeah, I had a worm inside of me. That was because he never knew she had leukemia, supposedly an incurable disease. So he didn't know she had. He's saying you had a critter, and he's a medical doctor now. He was so blown away by it. He followed her down there to the radiology lab and told the radiologist, this woman says she had a worm inside her. Radiologist said, yeah. I said, yeah. I'm thinking, my goodness, these are our head medical people, and they don't even understand this. My goodness. It's pretty simple. If your candida is out of check, i.e. cancer, yeast, fungus, it's doing its job, folks. Something's damaging the tissue. We got to find out what it is. All right. Even with the mouth cancers, even with the mercury, I've dealt with several of those, and they're harsh, but they can be done. They can be done. But you say when you get involved and start working with it for yourself and visualizing it, we have a great success rate. I mean, incredible success rate. But it's using common sense and the right people.
So tell us a little bit about the third element, water, and how you're going about structuring the water. And obviously, as I'm sure you'd agree, a good medicine should work equally well on plants, animals, or people. And the results you're getting with the water are extraordinary. I've been looking at several devices that structure water and increase the growth, but I've never seen anything that works like yours. How do you achieve that? Tell us about it.
I'm going to have fun with you now and your people, and I'm just going to tell you, because we don't work off of nothing here but the truth, okay? And I'm going to tell you the truth. Put on your seatbelts, because I will tell you exactly what's going on. We understand waters are carriers of frequencies. Now what we do is we have these units that we've put together that run through like marbles, and what they do is they vortex the water. When you're doing that, just like water coming off a mountain stream, what you're doing is you're clearing the memory, okay? So now what happens though, around this, under pressure, we put our minerals that we've been working for years helping people mainly with cancer or degenerative diseases. We put it around here, and when those memories clear, it's like they suck in those frequencies. We've been able to see this times using gas visualization discharge photography. Pretty incredible stuff. So now we understand we're putting the correct life-giving frequencies into the water. Here's what we did. Well, I don't even know if I'll tell you this story. I'm telling you the truth here, okay? A little hard to fathom, folks. I don't know if you guys know about these big pivot sprinklers. They do circles, okay? They're about 1/4 mile long, made out of metal pipes and wires, and they run in circles to water the farmlands. They're called pivot sprinklers. Well, what we did is I knew we were using with plants like we've done before in the past. It'll do incredible stuff with the soils. Well, we put one of these units on an 8-inch pipe on 1/4 mile long pipe with sprinklers hanging down, running in circles. And you know what? Not only did those frequencies break up the compaction on the soil, which is the hardest part for the farmers because of all the chemicals and everything for the years, water just can't seem to get through it. Broke up all the compaction. This was on a field of alfalfa. Put it on there. I got the cutting 2 weeks earlier for the alfalfa. I used less than half the water, and water here is very precious. Used less than half the water, got twice the growth, cut my timing back by 2 weeks. That's great stuff. Had no bugs whatsoever because the plants are healthy. When they're healthy, the bugs aren't going to attack them. You don't have to use any pesticides, no fertilizers, because remember, those frequencies are breaking up the compaction. They're eating that. We've got years of it on there, folks. Not only that, and it brought in, it brought in what they call orgone energy, life force energy, like glowing green all around the pivot. and even the growth in there was incredible. But for about, when we put the big unit on, it went up to about 100 square miles around it. We can see this is all flat land. We greened up and turned into an ACES over the whole summer, a whole 100 square miles, because what you did is you turned that big sprinkler into a huge antenna with the correct frequencies. Not too hard to imagine if you can grab a radio and just pick up a frequency. Same thing, fully grounded to the well. Not only did it bring in the good weather, all right, and the life force in here, broke the compaction in the soils, went down, brought up the water tables, brought the pHs in the water tables up because we're bringing those frequencies down, the correct frequencies. In other words, it did a lot more than that. I mean, mud wasn't even sticking to our shoes. There is no frequency that can really do that because everything works off of right and wrong, or not right and wrong, black and white, okay? But when you have too many infinitives there, but everything that it's doing right all at once without any drawbacks, nothing negative, but a zillion things good, it can only do the right thing, all right? That's what we're working with here. And it's, because we know, it's not like we found out how to help people with cancer by working agriculture. We've been fixing people with cancer and MS and macular degeneration and all kinds, sun allergies and all kinds of good stories. We've got all kinds of great stories. For years I've been doing that, but understanding these frequencies and understanding that, like I said, it wasn't radiation, it was frequencies, and understanding the response, what we're going to get over the years, and then spreading that out into other areas like agriculture was easy. The only thing that wasn't easy was preparing yourself for the shock you got when everything went right. Nothing goes wrong. Nothing. In fact, the only problem we had with the farmers this year, over that 100 square miles, is they couldn't keep up with the growth. They got buried. So they're ready for it next year. Okay, so but these are all true things. These are all backed up from works from men in the past and histories on theories that no one could ever prove. Well, we did it out here, and it's not theory anymore. I have people fly out here from all over the place and show them this is real now, and this is why and how.
So I see the aerial photographs, and they look very impressive. And what percentage increase in yield were you getting?
Because they didn't want to shock anybody's socks off, they only gave it 63% more. But we did better than that. So, but all. The great thing about this is interesting thing is that, see, I understand these frequencies. I've worked with them for years. I've found very few men around that really understand what's going on. Only a handful, if that. But it's about understanding, learning. You know, I mean, we have a gift here, and we can go ahead and use it to fix a lot of things to help people with all these diseases. And we're out here screaming everybody, hello, look, here's why, but validating every bit of it. And we're not getting that kind of attention, but actually I don't think it's that bad. If we got too much attention, we have a big following, but we'd probably be mowed over. Right now we've got important men coming in from all over the world to come visit us for answers. And we're showing them and giving to them. In other words, like I say, these frequencies, they're infinite. In other words, they go so far past you can't go black and white anymore to where it just knows what it's doing. And it never has done a wrong thing over the years working with cancers or cattle, water or weather. Always did the right thing. Waters are the carriers of frequencies. This is how we're fixing things.
Yeah, but my research is increasingly pointing to water as being the ultimate medicine of the future. I think, you know, light and water clearly is the way forward, and water is a carrier of light in terms of
information. It's but a lot of waters, unfortunately, these days are dead. In fact, one of my big things I'm working on now, like I say, we're always first for people first. But when I can go out there to a farmer's land and I have a well coming up out of the ground, and I check the pH in that, and it's only reading like a 5.5 or 6, it's acidic right out of the ground. Why is that? All the bad rains, pollution, fertilizers, pesticides, everything's coming in and it's going down to our water tables and aquifers. Yet I can run into a pipe from that well straight into a cattle tank where all the cattle have been drinking. It should be nasty and but the pH is now 7.4. It was the frequency. So now when we can go ahead and we can start bringing these frequencies by fixing the plant and bringing these frequencies back into the water table, you fixed everything. No one else could figure out how to do that. It already does. It's pretty incredible. That's you know, that's one of the reasons I'm really comfortable with using these frequencies, because over the years, like I say, working with degenerative diseases, and we've been around a long time, it's never done the wrong thing. It's always done the right. So, in other words, we don't really have to watch out, be overly worried. You know, everything we work with has been safe. And one of the harder parts, like now I have a hard time with the farmers. I can only go out and tell them, hey, I'm going to get you a little more growth and less water. If I tell them anything more than that, they think I'm crazy and won't even talk to me. So I just have to let them see it. And when you let them see it, then they're like me half the time. You start trying to explain it and you start stuttering. So, but it's real.
And so explain to us a little bit about the home unit for the water and how one would fix it into the house and what the benefits are.
Well, what we do is we can get you these units, and they're maybe a little over a foot long, maybe 18 inches. And what you would do is you go ahead and take your pipe, measure it out to the ends of it, cut it. And most all hardware stores, even where you're at, they have what they call shark bites. You just stick it on the pipe and it just slips right in. You just got to know the size of your pipe. What we see with these units is, the pHs are better in a house water. It feels like silk when it comes out of the water. In fact, here, see, I live in a place what we call the Mineral Palace. It's a big old hotel. It's built in 1929. We have a room in back with big tubs of water. Actually, I've got a room that's lined with uranium ore for lung cancers. But we fill these tubs in with the ores and magnesium chloride. Like I say, I'm huge on magnesium chloride. A lot of reasons for that. And in fact, every one of these points we could take a day on each point and explain the reasons for and why. We're just skimming over things. Incredible stuff, but all can be validated. Has to be. No, with the people, we've never hurt anybody ever. It's never happened.
And bringing you back to the water for the home, I'm very interested to know how it deals with things like chloride and fluoride. You're saying that it's shattering the way they're held molecularly. But what happens to the parts? Where does, let's say with the chlorine, where does the chlorine go?
Okay, I'll give you an experiment, okay? One we've done here several times. When we were working with waters. I'd have Doc come in here with all kinds of waters from different parts of the country here. Too acidic or too alkaline. And what we do is we go ahead and we put these stones in the waters, and over so many hours we check them again. The pHs didn't matter if they were too alkaline or too acidic. It always come in at 7.4. So what you've done though is you created a water where the pH is good, but then we'd start seeing the water get smoky, a little smoky. Well, what happened is remember, every toxic molecular structure, okay, like chlorine. You go to a pool, you dump in a gallon of chlorine, the whole thing smells like bleach, right? But guess what? That's not covering everything. The water carried those frequencies everywhere. There wasn't that much chlorine in there to do that, right? It's the frequencies it puts out. When you go to these frequencies, we use these frequencies and those toxic molecular structures, right? Or even on the waters, they just shatter them. Just shatters them. The smoke we'd see in the water would come down to the bottom of the jar. Now, this is what was interesting. So not only did it just go ahead and shatter all the toxic molecular structures in the water, but if you capped it off and made it to where it didn't have access to oxygen, this is important, those frequencies will die out and the water would go back acidic. But if you seal it off from air before it went back acidic, and the frequency will still survive in there, but for fuel, guess what it uses? It uses that stuff that it shattered and broke up. That's on the bottom, it'll use that for fuel now. Same thing applies with the soils we work with the farmers. We're putting the waters on there, you have all that compaction on there of all the chemicals and everything. It shattered them, made it to where it can aspirate the soils. And since it shattered them, they can be used for food now or fuel. Okay? So, but they just shatter and eliminate. So, like even in our house, I mean, you don't even see the lines around the toilets very much at all. You don't see it. The water's just different. Like I say, what you're doing is you're vortexing it, clearing the memory, adding in the correct frequencies, and you can tell a difference.
It's interesting what you say about the smokiness in the water, because quite a few of the viewers to this program are familiar with using fulvic minerals and putting that in water. And of course, fulvic minerals, the moment you put a drop of fulvic minerals in a glass of water that's, say, tap water, for example, it immediately goes smoky as the fulvic minerals clear and perhaps also, I don't know, possibly shatter the toxins. I don't, but interesting.
That's probably exactly what it is doing. You see, the thing is, what we do is spend too much time. Look, I fight with nuclear physicists all the time, okay? And with them, I have to be a little arrogant or they'll walk all over me. But sometimes when you see something and you call it like that over and over again, just like what you're saying there, it's probably doing the same thing. It probably is, all right? In other words, people start second-guessing themselves all the time. Call it like you see it. See what's happening. You know, that's how I operate. I have to. I'm not a doctor. I'm a medicine man. I work with some great doctors all over the world, but they depend on me to validate. So I'm out there in the ditches validating, but we're winning. So
I'd be interested to know whether you've seen people get better with the water alone who haven't tried the stones.
Oh, yes, because see what you're doing is you're actually doing the best way of bringing those frequencies into the body. The best way to systemically do that is using the waters. Stones are fantastic for like targeting tissues, targeting a liver, rotor cuff, working on the stomach. We do with our stones, we teach people how to do everything from foot soaks to bring toxins out and bring magnesium chloride in to we use stones to go for people with bad congestive problems to do inhales with the certain stones, boiling them with water to get the frequencies into the water to breathe in. That's what you're mainly doing with these water units, okay? With these house units, you stick them on there. It's not a filter. They last forever. All you're doing is you're vortexing that water. We have them on all our properties here. You're vortexing that water. You have minerals around it, and those, like I say, when you see the photography, you can see it just like sucks it right in. But it's making a difference. You can see it, taste it, touch it, feel it. It's there.
And so it would be safe to say that you're neutralizing every possible toxin in the water, or could some get through?
If you're doing a main line and you got that unit in it, and it comes out of that faucet, once it's already being access to oxygen, you're already winning the battle. You set that water down for overnight, check the pH in it, it should be fine. All right, 7.4. Anything that's bad in there, it's in an environment it can't exist. All right, and then you'll start seeing in those kind of waters, because it is carrying those frequencies. They'll stay alive. They are going to shatter those structures, and they are going to eliminate. We see it a lot. So it's all about constant validation, but the big thing on validation is our people getting better.
Yeah, there's nothing like people getting better to prove the point.
Let me give you. I'll give you a story. We had a friend of the family show up here from Iowa. Knocked on the door. He had less than 30 days to live. His heart was dying. Actually had a card in his pocket telling me where to send the body. All right. I says, no, that's not why you're here. So we put him on full protocol, right? Except, see, these are one of those scenarios to where we have good support from our doctors to our mineral people. So I call up our mineral people, Water Divine, and I say, here's what I got. Man's heart's dying. We got him on protocol. Can you help? Well, yeah. What they do is they put together what we call, with minerals, we call a cardiovascular cocktail. Within 30 days, that man went out there and pulled the engine out of my van. all right, because I needed to change an engine. He came back a year later, no cane or nothing, and fixed the rest of our vehicles for saving his life. His doctors, when he got back the first time, couldn't figure out how over 50% of his heart had already grown back. That was from the support and help of our friends, along with our protocol, but from Water Divine. We get stories like that almost daily, okay? Some stick out, but they're always good.
Yeah, I've come across so many people who've got their health back with frequency in its various forms, be it frequency devices like the scalar or others, or light or lasers or crystals. No shortage of ways actually to get frequencies in the body one way or another.
And that's big. See, because if you look at alternative healing, okay, there's usually two sides of the house. There's number one, nutrition, supplements and such, okay? Number two is usually energy medicine, all right? That's where you're talking, well, Rife machines, MOPAs, biofeedback. I know some of the best radionics guys in the country. I've been to their places in Oregon, Minnesota, big places with crystals and hair samples, all kinds of things. But, and I've known these guys for years, working with the energy medicines, and it seems as though these guys have spent most of their life trying to find the correct frequency, all right? And I wasn't even a big frequency guy back then, but then when I found out, I go to them and say, listen, we've been working with the correct frequency all along and never knew it. We never knew it, and now we do. And they always look at me shaking their heads going, yeah, you do, huh? Because they spent their life looking for it. And here's a guy comes up with a rock in his hand and says, here you go. Right. And we did it. When it comes to frequency medicine, I always think it's just like radiation. I told you, with natural radiation, out of the ground's good. When it's been enriched, it destroys as bad. Same thing kind of worries me about energy medicine. Some things are good, vibrations, some lights, and they're good. But a lot of times it's working off a 50-50 shot. It's either going to work or not, okay? Because it's a man-altered frequency, the energy. The one thing that I'm happy about with what we do with the stones is they are the correct frequency. In other words, if I get a response, and I always know it's going to be the right thing, whether it's going to overwhelm a person, have them back off a little bit, fine, but I always know it's going to be the right thing, won't do the wrong thing. That's the way it's been for years. But frequency medicine, energy medicine, like I say, a lot of machines out there. But see, then again, people abuse those things too. I ran into a guy out here in the middle of nowhere last year, had cancer, only had a week to live or so, and some guy whooped into his house, sold him a Rife machine, didn't even know how to do it for thousands of dollars. I walked in the door, he says, hey, are you the Rife guy to show me how to use this? And then someone had sold him a bunch of supplements from some company and didn't even know about them. And they said, oh, I'm going to fix my cancer now. He didn't make it. All right? You got to know what you're doing, like a Rife machine. Let's take that, for instance. People get a Rife machine and they use it. Well, here's the problem. If you're using a Rife machine, you have to be able to know what pathogen you're going after. And you have to know the frequency of that pathogen you're going after. See, so it's not that easy, all right? So it's difficult. I mean, we have a lot of success with and we do have success with different machines, like I say, MOPAs, Rife machines, biofeedbacks, and they love them. But sometimes when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, that's when they call us, all right? That's when things are starting to look bad, that's when they call us.
So, there's one particular thing I'd like to talk to you about. When I saw the eye stones, the stones particularly to rest on your eyes, tell us how effective are they?
Well, I won't put anything on the website unless I know I've seen it work. Well, I'll tell you a story. This one's very good. I was in Denver. I had a house there, and a Colorado State representative brought a friend of his over. The man was legally blind. In fact, he was a cowboy, played the fiddle. In fact, his job was to go around with this guy and do politicking with him. Well, they actually even hired somebody at the state headquarters, or at the state capitol, to hold his arm to walk him through the hallways. He was in his late 60s. And so the man brought him to my house. And he was sitting here, I said, well, what do you want? He says, well, what I'd like to do again one day is be able to drive. Well, he'd already had 2 operations on his eyes. He had macular degeneration and who knows all what else. I explained to him about radiation hormesis because that's what I was going off of by then because that's all we had. Well, I went ahead and he was skeptical, and I love the skeptical guys because once you fix them, they tell everybody. So what I did with him is I had him put the stones on his eyes and a mud pack over it, like my helicopter pilots do, every night. Well, he can wear it all night. He wears it all night. He does. When I first gave that to him, 30 days later, my wife and I were in Kansas giving a presentation to a bunch of people to help them with their health. And all of a sudden the doors burst open. It was late on a Sunday. And there was Billy the cowboy, the one who was blind. He walks in there and he sits right in the front row. He comes up to me later and says, Jay, I want to tell you something. This was 30 days later. He says, for the first time in years, I was able to read the church brochure this morning. He says, I haven't felt this good in years, and he did one of these cowboy jigs. Well, Billy is driving again. Billy's got all kinds of, he's in his 70s now. He's still driving. He's great. He passed, he's got his vision back. He wears his stones on his eyes all night long now. In fact, there's a lot of people that come here love to see him. He's a good man. In fact, the Korean people come here all the time, and they always ask us to bring Billy, and he can see again. Now, what Billy does now is he'll call me up every once in a while, and he'll drive here in Colorado from Kansas. And he'll pick up these kits to help these people out with their health problems around Kansas. And every once in a while, he'll call me up and he'll say, Jay, I got another man's eyesight fixed, he says, and he's driving again. Isn't that great? And I say, that's great, Billy. And then I hang up the phone and I think, I'm not sure if Billy should be putting all these old boys back on the road again or not, but, bless his heart, he's doing it. And he's been doing that for quite a while. We get a lot of stories like that. The eye stones, they work. Getting rid of floaters, they work. Because they only know how to do the right thing. What you're doing is you're stopping the degeneration of soft cell tissue. Okay? But you stop the degeneration, and then you start the repair. Right? That's all you're doing.
And for people who are getting older and now need reading glasses, is there any hope for them?
Sure there is. Okay, here's another one of these subjects I don't go into too much, but all right, it's the first time I Skyped, so I'll let you know on this one. With what we do, remember, you're stopping decay, acid and decay, all right? The anti-aging qualities of working with these stones and these frequencies is incredible, incredible. I'm 51, I don't even have any gray hair. It's just like I started getting younger, The lady here had all the cancer, the breast and brain and lung. She would get in the tub 3 times a day. Number one, run around here like a school kid. My wife and her run around like little young high school girls. But the other thing that happened. When the frequencies in your body are very high, okay, the clarity of thinking becomes very high. This woman here with 4-stage breast, brain, and lung cancer was taking college courses here, pulling straight A's, and doing her husband's work and pulling him straight A's, because the clarity of thinking and the anti-aging is there. That's all you're doing. I've had many men come in here because they want to learn about. In fact, the great thing about this? Do you know the story of Ponce de Leon, the Fountain of Youth? Yeah. No. Okay, well, what it is, they always had a thing here where Ponce de Leon came over here, I think it was from Spain, and he was always going to Florida somewhere looking for the Fountain of Youth because the Indians were getting younger in the Fountain of Youth. And we always make fun of it to this day. Guess what? He was right on. When these waters are restructured with the correct frequencies, you do have the Fountain of Youth. Absolutely. So you're doing repair and stopping decay. That's all. In fact, I'll give you an example of that too. When we mine our stone out of Utah, I'm about 1.5 miles underground. Okay? And some of these mines haven't been worked since 1940s or before. And when you go down there, you look at the batteries, the old tires, the wood ties, the plastic, everything's like new. Why? Because nothing decays. It just doesn't decay. And actually, you get roots from that far down from trees from up above just coming down to it. Like I say, we've been conditioned to think so wrong for so long, we don't even know what the truth is anymore, all right? That's what we're trying to show people. Like I say, we go into those mines, nothing's getting older. If I was serious about it and did what I just tell everybody else to do and get in a tub 2-3 times a day, I just start getting younger and younger and younger. It's not rocket science. It's just common sense and how things basically work, all right? It's no secret.
So there are going to be people watching this that are going to be thinking, well, this is too much. I can't believe that. How would you recommend they would go about researching from this point? How can they perhaps somehow prove to themselves by going online that what you're saying is genuine? What would you advise them?
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to get on the internet, you can go to our website, which is Nighthawk Minerals, NIGHT, Hawk, HAWK, Minerals with an S, MINERALS.com. All kinds of stories, history, science, everything's in there. If you want to see a quick glimpse of what we've been doing with the agriculture, all you'd have to do is go to rainmakerfarming.com and look at what we're doing with it out there. I've got the farmers on there talking. See, that's the thing too, validating and all these great things I'm telling you here, which I can validate every bit of it. I've got the men behind me that can validate me. The thing is with the farmers, they're your toughest customer. They're tough. You've got to prove it to them or they're not going to do it, right? But they're actually a big key on how we can fix many things. Remember, I told you, when we're using those pivots out there with the farmers, you're breaking up compaction, you're fixing water tables, you're fixing weather, you're not getting hail or blizzards and storms and tornadoes. That stuff won't happen in those areas. Why? Because you've planted a life force. God's not going to destroy something He's built like that. The rest of the damage is going through areas that are compacted with fertilizers that can't break through the soil. These are just common sense things we observe that we can prove time and time again, not just once, but time and time again. Like I say, I work with some of the best nuclear physicists in the world on this subject. I'm good friends of theirs. They've been at my house and stayed here. I got one of the best ones out there. Finally, it took me years, but he finally agrees and wrote me. He says, Jay, you're right. It is frequencies. It never was the radiation. We have a lot to learn, and people say, it's got to start somewhere. Well, it's going to start here, and this is what we're doing. That's our mission. So.
Well, very good. We're sort of really at the end of our hour, so I'd like to thank you very, very much for coming on the show. It's been fascinating, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again in the future. And we will be stocking some of Jay's products on the Ancient Purity website in the future. And I think people are going to want to know an awful lot more and to try these products out. And thankfully, they're not terribly expensive. I think in terms of dollars, a kit that's got a stone for the water, well, maybe you'd like to describe it. I think
it's $55. They last forever. We're gonna start trying to get some product out to you for the people that need the help, and then we can start working with. What I'd like to do is find people out in the UK that with healers. Well, I'm always looking for healers that want to learn or that need help. All right. These are important things we need to learn. In other words, what we do here, if you have a kit, and I think if you had one of those level 2 gray stones, and let's say our medical system collapsed, you can take care of yourself and your family. There's ways to do that. That's what we do. So, but product for you, information on the product that people can get from you, and make a difference.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to supplying the stones, and I think a kit that's got the various stones. So you've got a sort of a complete set is about $250, something like that. Was that right?
I think it was 260, but they're on sale. But yeah, inside those kits, they have a mud pack, a pendant, a water stone, and a green stone. Now, those are all tools. So when we're working with you, we're going to have you placing them on different areas. The only thing I usually have people get other than that when I'm working with a serious problem, a level 2 gray stone, which is a little higher in energy. We measure them with Geiger counters. That's how we get the intensity of the frequencies, because we can measure that from using Geiger counters. But we also make other products, which we'll get to, that help with certain things like ear stones, mouth stones, eye stone sets. We get people here with all kinds of special problems, and we custom make. We have our own rock shop. That's what we do. We mine cut stone and work with people and doctors. Yeah, people are doctors too, but I mean, we work with a lot of doctors, and you know, there are a lot of doctors. I've had them call me up and they'll say, "Jay, what we're doing, it ain't working. What do you got?" I'll say, "Well, I got a rock." I say, "Okay, well, let's start from there, because what we're doing ain't working." And they call here, and there's some good doctors out there trying, you know. But no, we'll try to get product. No, we are going to get product over to you, and the help that we can get to you, and information, and yeah, everything I say on here is real. Like I say, the only way we're going to win this war is with the truth, guys. That's what I tell the farmers. So.
Well, absolutely. And the truth sometimes can be surprising. Over the next few weeks, we've got a number of very interesting guests coming up. We've got a guest discussing reversing blindness. We have people talking about space age frequency healing devices, which are totally incredible. We've seen people who, for instance, have had one leg shorter than another, and by applying this frequency device for 10 seconds, their entire bodily structure straightens up in 24 hours. We're going to be interviewing some people who really are at the absolute cutting edge of healing, as you are yourself. So thank you so much, Jay, for coming on, and thank you, viewers, for listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you very much.
Blessings to you. And what it is I realized what we were working with, they called radiation hormesis, okay? Hormesis is a Greek word which means to excite. And basically what they're saying is a little bit of radiation is good for you. In other words, their theory behind radiation hormesis is that when radiation goes through your body, it slightly damages or stresses your cells and DNA, and when that happens, it triggers a response from the immune system. Okay, well, I bought that for years. That was the only thing we had to back us up to explain why all these people we've worked with over the years could see again, walk again, were in wheelchairs with MS, cancer-free. The only thing we had to like I say, to back that up was the theory of radiation hormesis, which is upheld. It's been around for many decades by most of the nuclear physicists. That's their way of thinking. Well, after years of this and working with people, and we've been very successful, we have our own medical doctors. I'm a medicine man. My people are medicine men and women, so we're covered legally here in the States. But what we were able to find out was that it never was the radiation. See, we mine stones. We go in the United States in Utah and Wyoming, and we mine stones now, from low-grade uranium ore to chrysocolla, which is a copper stone, more or less held together with silica. And we work with these two stones to get these frequencies out, because what I was able to do is I was able to validate that it never was radiation that was helping our people. And actually, this is how it came about. We have a lot of farmers and ranchers around here. And what we would do is they would get algae on their cattle tanks. And the bad algae is the algae that would cover up the sun and produces acid. So the pHs in the tanks were very acidic. The cattle drinking like battery acid. So what we do is we put sacks of these stones. The waters, any carrying that frequency would change the pH, see, to a perfect 7.4 every time. What we would do with her with the open cancer is we have a tubs with water here with the ores in it and magnesium chloride. We're big supporters of magnesium chloride. And we would totally submerge her cancer, open cancer, into the waters. Why? Because then you're directly introducing those frequencies into some place where anything is producing acid or decay, algae or cancer, it don't matter, it can't exist. Okay? She's back, she stayed here 9 weeks, she's back in Denver, she's cancer free. All right? Worst. But understanding it was frequencies. So, but now we have people, we work with a lot of agriculture now. And we've just scratched the surface. We're just a small group. But what we've been doing for our people, they will always come first. People's health always come first, no matter what. That's our promise to God. What we've put together now over the years, see, for years we were getting people better from all kinds of degenerative diseases. We were getting them help just using the stones. But on our journey, my wife and I have traveled across this country here many times and worked with many healers, many doctors, many scientists. And over this time, the way we've been guided, for the last 5 years, we've been running a protocol. And this protocol, we call it the Three Divine, because God put it together. And what it is it's frequencies, number one. Number one is frequencies. Frequencies is where people would call us up. Let's say you have leukemia. Okay, you call me up. I put you on the Three Divine Protocol. Now, I've already thinking after talking to you in my head, I already know what the problem is. Every time we get leukemia, it's roundworm that's in the liver. Okay, every time. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on the Three Divine Protocol. Number one is frequencies. That's where we're going to send you out stones that we I'm one of these people. I have to know what's happening, why you're getting better. I'm not really into the. Back then, I wasn't into the metaphysical or holistics, you might say. But so what I did is I took this stone because I had so many calls coming in with arthritis getting better, tumors getting smaller. And so I took the stone to laboratories and I had it. What they call a spectral analysis on it. Where they break it down into elements. So then I took the elements and I studied the history and its uses on each one, and then I got to thorium. Well, thorium's a radioactive element. And I didn't think much about it because there's thorium in the ground everywhere we're at. But I took this stone over to Rocky Flats Arsenal here in Colorado and had one of the radiation guys go ahead and test it. Well, he told me that he says, "LJ, it's slightly radioactive." That's all I heard. Then the way we've been conditioned, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm killing people. I was going to call people back and buy their necklaces back and, I'll make money on it. I couldn't sleep. Well, it just seems so on my journey, the way I've been guided, I found out no one actually I was doing the right thing. We actually, here in the United States, had a long history of using natural radioactive material with great success with health issues in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. In fact, I have rooms full of antiques. Then we had Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and everybody became radiophobic. We've been conditioned. And for a good reason for that, too. But when I found out I was doing the right thing, I started working with even working with helicopters. I was still going into doctors' offices with boxes of rocks. And I started working with their patients. I got thrown out of a lot of offices. But we started working with their patients, and we were seeing results. In fact, they even wrote a book on this. It's about me and this journey. It's called Because People Are Dying, inside the tanks. And what would happen was the cattle would get healthy, they'd gain more weight, they'd drink a lot more water, have no problems with calving or scouring or anything. But we also noticed that the pH in their water was at a 7.4. No matter what tank we went to, it was always 7.4. The pH, it changed the pH. There's only two ways that you can change the pH of water if you get down to it. That's chemicals or with frequencies, which chemicals are bad frequencies. But we were able to validate and spend a lot of time with it that it was frequencies we were working with, the correct frequencies. Over the years, after we realized it was frequencies out of these stones that we mine, and we measure, and you can go to our website and see, and we work with people across all over the world, by the way. But with these, we've understood these frequencies have never done the wrong thing. Like I said, with EMFs, pesticides, other bad frequencies, the only way you can protect yourself from bad frequencies is to overpower it with good frequencies, and that's what we're working with here. So now that we understood it was frequencies and how it responds, I'll give you an example. Our first, when we first were able to understand it was frequencies, and you know, waters are carriers of frequencies. That's how you restructure water. You take a frequency, you imprint it on a water molecule, it spreads to other water molecules, and then you've restructured the water with that frequency. Well, what we did here is we had a lady, one of our last people that we had here, where I live, we used to bring in people from around the world to stay here. Now we work with our people on the phone, because that's how we reach more people. Our last cancer patient we had here, she had 4-stage big open breast cancer, 4-stage lung cancer, and brain cancer, 48 years old. We were her last hope. So they sent her here. And what we did, because we understood it was frequencies, and because
Well, hello and welcome to the Health Revolution. I'm Clive Carle, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome from Colorado today Jay Gutierrez. And Jay is going to tell us some remarkable stories. Jay, thank you very much for joining us.
absolutely, thank you for having me.
Well, I'd like you to tell us, first of all, what happened one time when you discovered a green stone.
Oh boy, that's a ways back. That's getting close to 30 years ago. I was on a Army helicopter mission in northern Wyoming, and we landed on the ground, and I found some green and blue stone, you know, and I was a helicopter mechanic. I have 20 years military, Air Force and Army. And I found some green and blue stone on the ground, and I was drawn to it, you know. I figured I would just make some jewelry. Well, what happened was people started getting better from all kinds of things. And